In the village of Goodman's Land, a serial killer is murdering people while listening to big band music. Can Barnaby and Troy catch them before they dance off into the sunset? We're talking about when Midsummer goes horror movie
The history of big band jazz.
and why Troy can't score in this episode of.
Welcome to Midsummer.
Hello, and welcome to Midsummer, the podcast where we dissect all the mysteries, the murders, and the many weird things about the long running hit TV show Midsummer Murders. I'm your host, Eric Buscher, and with me, as always, is my co host, Eileen Becker. Hey, Eileen.
Hey, Eric, we are talking about Dark Autumn, the fifth episode of the fourth series. It originally aired on September 16th, 2001. It was directed by Jeremy Silbertston and written by Peter Hammond. Let's pull out the 45s.
Spoiler warning, we will be discussing the events of this episode, including the identity of the murderer. So if you haven't watched it yet and don't want to know who done it, pause this and go watch it. We will still be here when you get back.
For God's sake, Louise, this is terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Why wasn't I told?
Because you weren't around.
But I have a right to be told.
Why? Maybe the police aren't that impressed with your OBE.
Oh, damn the OBE. I'm talking about my social standing in the community. I should have been the first to be told.
Then you shouldn't go traipsing around the hills every morning like a lunatic, should you? What are we supposed to do, yodel?
In the early morning hours in Goodman's Land, mailman Dave Cutler walks through the village, whistling and delivering letters, and feeling up housewife Mary Yeatman. He cuts through the graveyard as someone begins stalking him, playing big band music. They step in front of Dave and use a large billhook to slice his throat and kill him. Young Holly Reed finds the body, lets out a scream. Now, as the village wonders why all the police cars are arriving, Barnaby rolls up and gets the lowdown from Troy. So that slice on Cutler was so deep it almost decapitated him, and his only next of kin lives in a nearby nursing home. Meanwhile, Keith Shortland heads out on an overnight trip, leaving his wife Debbie bored at home. Debbie does the books for local furniture and antiques dealer Simon Reason, who is having some tax issues. Owen August walks the hills and runs across local farmer Abe Jessel working on a fence with the same kind of bill hooks that killed Cutler. When Owen returns home, his wife Louise informs him about the murder. Dairy worker Mike Eatman returns home to his wife and tells her that Cutler is dead, causing her to run off and cry. The detectives stop into the pub owned by John Field and Barbara Judd, who tell them that Cutler had a habit of sleeping with other people's wives. Holly tells them how she found the body and recalls vaguely hearing music, but can't describe what kind. Local PCJ Nash tells them that she moved to the area 2 years ago and knows all too well about Cutler's reputation. She tells them about a physical altercation Cutler had with Mike Eatman and suggests they use the former dance hall, now empty, for their incident room. Owen visits the other pub in town and talks to owner Ben Barrow about how Dave's death will affect the big Aunt Sally game. He then returns home and listens to a recording of his wife having sex with Cutler. Debbie finishes up Reason's paperwork when she gets a call, but it's just the killer's music playing on the other end. She heads out into the night to deliver the paperwork, where she is stalked and murdered by the music playing killer. The next day, Reason calls Debbie, and when he gets no answer, he goes to her home but can't find her. Unaware of the second murder, Barnaby stops in to talk to the Yeatmans during Mike's breakfast break. Say that 5 times fast. Mike says he fought Dave because he had been messing around with his wife and wouldn't listen to warnings. However, he says he didn't need to kill Dave because he has forgiven his wife, and Dave stayed away from his wife after the beating, which we all know isn't true. She says that she never saw Dave the morning he was killed, which is also a lie. John Field tells them the fight at the pub was very minor. Now, he is another recent transplant to the village, having moved from the gross London pubs to this nicer one. He left behind his girlfriend Tammy, although they speak every day on the phone. Aide walks his dog and finds the bloody paperwork, which he takes to the incident room. Keith also goes there to report Debbie missing. They search the area Aide found the paperwork in and discover her body murdered the same way as Cutler. They discover a bloody kitchen knife, which is a souvenir from the 1951 Festival of Britain, but Barnaby understands it couldn't possibly be the murder weapon, so it must have been placed there by the killer. The body is nowhere near the road, so they can't figure out why she was out there. Keith has no idea why his wife was killed and admits she might have flirted with Cutler, although the rumors are that it was a little more than flirtation, if you know what I mean. They take the paperwork to Reason, who says it's his. Reason is currently separated from his wife and is staying in his warehouse. He is also having an affair with Louise August, and her husband sneaks home while they sleep together. Now, after 2 whole days, the detectives finally decide it's time to check out Cutler's flat. The only clue they find there is a handkerchief with his name embossed on it. At the funeral, everyone attends, even Mary in the background, and Jay has a little cry. Barnaby finds an unsigned wreath with a poem on it. He then talks to Janet Reason, who says Simon left because he couldn't handle the fact that she slept with Cutler too. She says her husband is a bit of a loser and would only murder if the world was against him, which it is. Louise tells Owen she's bored with everything, but neither of them seem in any kind of a rush to change things. The next day, Barnaby visits Mary Yeatman after her husband leaves. She says her husband is no killer, but that she really did love Cutler and had seen him that morning. She says she also heard music, describing it as dance band music. Troy and Jay get dinner, and she tells him that she has no time for a relationship right now, but she has cared for someone in the past, which was apparently a big mistake. They head over to the Aunt Sally competition where the Barnabys join them. The entire village is present, and it seems to be going quite well until the Augusts have a drunken argument and someone throws a stick at Owen. Aid accuses Owen of stealing one of his billhooks and killing Dave with it. Louise tells Simon that their relationship is over, and then he gets a call from someone claiming to be the police, telling him to meet them at his warehouse right now. He arrives and finds it broken into. He hears the music playing and finds a record playing on his big old record player, and then a desk falls on him, killing him. Death by splat.
Look, many of people have died at their desk, but not many people have died by desk.
It was very, very comical. It was almost like there should have just been a piano dangling. All right, tourist info. This is our
wait. I have one more joke. They should have at that point expected it to be Wile E. Coyote. Okay, you didn't like that joke.
That's fine. It is funny just to just give you a stone face and see how you react. All right, tourist info. This is our first time to Goodman's Land, and we will be back in a climate of death. It's a very quiet village that's the home to a whopping 2 pubs and a fish and chips truck that comes once a week. You can enjoy the local chili competition, or play a round of Aunt Sally, or buy some overpriced antiques. But remember, if you hear music in the air, run.
The home of Owen and Louise August was filmed at Pearton Manor, an Elizabethan manor house built in the early 17th century, with major repairs made in 1786. Located in Oxfordshire, about a 20-minute drive from Tame, it is a Grade 2 listed building.
All right, so this episode opened up right on the title card, right on the title card for the show, which kind of is one of those indications that this is going to be a chock full episode and they are wasting no time. And I got to say, they deliver. This is a packed and very busy episode.
This is a 4-body episode.
Yep. Then they kind of go straight into this weird, unfocused, blurry shot that lasts way too long, right? Like you just it's clearly night, and then you see sort of the light in the distance, and it took me like a good 30 seconds to is that a car or a bike, or is it no, it's both. It's both. And immediately we were following Dave Cutler as he is slowly being stalked by the killer, and that's why I think this episode straight up starts with a horror movie, a slasher movie, a giallo, if you will, which is basically an Italian kind of murder slasher, stalking killer sort of film, and that's what this episode is.
Yeah, I had to look that up because I did not recognize that terminology, and I figured, oh, it sounds Italian, so probably Italian horror film. I am not a horror film person, so
Yeah,
I kind of miss a lot of the horror stuff. And when you mentioned it, it was like, oh, okay, maybe I should watch the occasional horror movie or not.
it comes from giallo. It's they were films that kind of came in like the 60s and 70s. They again a killer that's kind of stalking from the shadows, slowly hunting, and it's part horror film and then part who done it, like who is the killer. Like it's not like a Freddy Krueger or a Jason where it's just a faceless monster. It's someone's doing the murdering. It's basically just a very brutal murder mystery. And I believe
Yeah.
the term giallo comes from sort of giallos were like a type of means yellow, and that they were sort of
Mhm.
come from like sort of the dime paperback murder
Mhm.
mystery horror things that were very popular in Italian culture at the time, and the papers would yellow
Mhm.
very easily. So that's I believe that's kind of where somehow that's where the movies came, the name of those movies came from. But it's also a thing that's kind of carried over into American films. I think
Mhm.
probably in the last 20 years, the most prominent ones would be the Scream films, which
Mhm.
are clearly horror, as you have the masked killer running around and killing everybody. But part of the fun of the Scream films is who's the killer,
Yeah.
and trying to figure out who done it.
Mhm.
And then it's usually some really ridiculous answer,
Mm. It's the little
much
old
like
lady.
Midsummer.
It's the little old lady with her walker. I've never seen a Scream film, so
They're
uh,
fun. Look, I will, and the Scream films overall are very fun. Not all of them are great, but the first one is actually very well done. It is a
mhm.
very well done modern horror film,
Yeah.
and I think that that's where Midsummer was really trying with this episode. It is
Yeah.
the killer, kind of the slow stalking of the killer, the music that has to play, like the
Mm.
violent nature of the murder. A slash across the throat so deep it almost like honestly, I really wish it had decapitated Dave. I wish we just had seen like Dave's head just go boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. Well, we have had decapitated heads before in
Yes.
Midsummer, and to get that almost, and yet when you look at the body, it's like that doesn't look like almost. So
Yeah.
it didn't. The visual didn't quite match that.
Yeah. And then you had like, and the killer also uses the same weapon for pretty much all of it, which is a bill
Mhm.
hook, which
Mhm.
I had to look up, but apparently it's very similar to a machete, and that
Mhm.
its primary use is to sort of chop plants, but it has a hooked blade, hence the
Mhm.
bill hook.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I just thought that this had like very strong horror movie vibes more than anything, and even the ending is a
Mhm.
very horror movie ending,
Yeah.
right? Which we'll
Yeah.
we'll talk about in the second half. The murders are a little confusing. The first couple, like
Mhm.
more like Debbie's murder is a little confused. Like first of all, like Dave's murder, I was like, was Dave whistling the same song that the killer was playing?
Yeah.
But they never answer the question. Like they pose like, why is Debbie so far from the road? I was like, that's a good question. Why is Debbie so far from the
We'll never know.
They never really answer.
Yeah. There are a few things that didn't get quite answered in this one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then you see that scene where the killer, like after he kills Debbie, he moves the gate.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was because that's not in the murder scene at all.
Yeah, I mean, she stands by the gate at some point, and I don't know. It's just the way. And usually, I'm very A plus on the cinematography here, but I did find it confusing.
Yeah. There's editing choices and stuff like that in the
Yeah,
first, and then like, but there's stuff where they actually like, well, why did like the like they didn't have to point out that she was far away from the road. Wouldn't have
yeah,
mattered.
yeah,
And like the gate thing was like, oh yes, the murder's done. I was like, but what's that gate to? Because it's
yeah,
not blocking anything. I'll just shut up.
yeah. And we don't understand why she is taking a route that takes her off the road and at night when there has already been a murder. As a woman, you would not be doing that.
Yes. Um, Also, the music thing playing on the other end was like, I guess that's supposed to be taunting, but nobody knows that the killer's using music. So,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
was the point of that?
yeah.
In a way, it does work like a horror movie. Those make no sense either. The first victim is Dave Cutler, the mailman who loves married women and is apparently great at sex.
Really great at sex, apparently.
Yep.
So much so that all the women are distraught.
And I think which is also I think really confusing because he's clearly the himbo.
Yeah.
All the women yet love him,
Mhm.
and I think there's a structural flaw in this episode that because
I agree.
we don't get a few minutes with Dave, so that
Mhm.
like all we know about him is he's just sleeping with other women's wives, but all these women seem to love him, and I don't know
Mhm.
why because they never explain why. Is he like more
Mhm.
attentive than their husbands? Is he actually sitting there and talking to them about what they want in life or any of that?
Yeah, it had to be more than just great sex. Though that's, not unimportant. But they needed to show his personality. Is he charming? Nobody even talks about that. They just say, "Oh, he was great in bed." He really lived up to the hype. But it was like, why? It's
Yeah.
got. I mean, okay, if you have kids, let me just. You might want to send them away. As women, it's more than technique. Okay, there's got to be an emotional thing there. And what was it that he was
Oh, I'm
bringing
waiting for
to it?
that first email from a woman. It's like, excuse me, I can have emotionless sex with the best of them.
Well, we all can, but still,
Yeah.
for it to have an emotional
For the
impact.
emotional
Emotional.
impact that as they
Yeah,
are showing in this
yeah,
episode,
yeah.
they don't explain, they don't explain why at
Mhm,
all. In fact, we are only led to believe that he has one relationship with somebody in this episode. And again, all we know is that apparently it was a mistake, but we don't know why.
mhm.
And like what happened? Like we needed 5 minutes with Dave,
Yeah,
um, and not even to like get the impact of it, like to not only just to better sell the emotional impact of his death, but just to understand the ripple effect of why so many people are actually distraught.
yeah,
You're gonna if you kill the most popular person in town, everyone's gonna be upset. When you
yeah.
kill the himbo, right?
Mhm.
Like, and you don't show him being like actually a nice person and that it does look like all these women are just dying, are crying because their sex is gone.
Well, yeah.
Oh,
They may not be getting anything other than what Dave was providing.
yeah. Um, I also thought this episode was a little too somber. It needed a little more touch of the silly.
I agree. I kind of wonder why this episode for me is a bit forgettable because there are some good things. Like Celia Emery is really terrific. Um,
I remember the ending. I remember the
yeah,
ending a little bit.
yeah, yeah. But for me, it's like it's one of those that just doesn't stick out, and the elements are there that this should be a really top notch episode.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of is like it's taking itself very seriously, and
Hmm.
and the whole thing is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to sort of the Scream element, right?
Hmm.
Scream is also they're known for like the whodunits. They're also known for being very meta, and they're known for
Yeah.
being there's a lot of humor to them.
Yeah.
Even if it's like kind of darker edged humor, they are known they are quite clearly not taking themselves so seriously. And
Hmm.
this episode takes itself so seriously that at one point I'm just like, can we all just get over ourselves, please?
Yeah. And the thing is, I don't necessarily think that it's in the script because there are things in the script that are there are all these call outs to other things like Goodman's Land. I
Hmm.
picked up as a call out to Benny Goodman,
Yeah.
jazz big band guy, obviously. And then the Byron. Byron was a notorious himbo uh, and womanizer, and just pretty much anything that moved he would have sex with, kind of thing.
Hmm.
You know, uh, yeah, that's a fun thing to play with. They could have played with that a little bit more. It's there in the script. Why? But they took it so seriously.
Yeah.
And if anybody, Byron's going to make fun of himself. That should
Yeah.
have been a little bit more fun.
Yeah. It needed a little bit of just yes, we get it. There's a killer walking around, but he's literally playing big band music.
Yeah,
I would think like that's the clue that you would just immediately start alerting people to. It's just like if you hear big band music,
yeah,
lock your doors.
yeah,
There was a lot of little other things with. I love that Barnaby calls Dave very good looking when they're putting the picture of him on the murder board, and it's like the worst photo ever.
yeah,
It's like it is like okay, get me on my worst side.
yeah. And make it all about the nose.
Yeah, I really want to make sure that I'm not. I want to make sure that I'm smiling in a really creepy, murdery way.
Yeah,
So, did you notice that inside Dave's apartment, when they actually go in 2 days after his murder,
yeah,
and I checked because there's like, no, it's been 2 days.
yeah.
I was like, there's a poster of Louise Brooks,
Hmm.
famed silent film actress. So that I thought was an interesting sort of. It's kind of an interesting Easter egg in the sense of so
Mm,
Louise Brooks' most famous film was called Pandora's Box,
mhm,
where she played a young woman whose uninhibited nature. And this is the description from
mhm,
like Wikipedia. I've seen it. It's a silent film. She's
mhm.
she's a loose flapper,
Yeah,
and but she basically destroys all the people that love her and her own life, and then she ends up being murdered by Jack the Ripper, which is sort of a little bit what happened with Dave.
yeah. There is a yeah, because there are like you said, there are these call outs, there are these little
Yeah.
Easter eggs in there. They could have been a little more fun if they had like just lingered a little bit or something. Yeah.
Well, I mean, also if you look in his apartment, they have like, why does he have a model police car? And I'm pretty sure I saw a Bobby's helmet with like glitter on it, like way up on a shelf somewhere.
Yeah.
What the heck was that? Or was those just supposed to be like, were those the clues that he was with Jay? I
Yeah.
I don't know. They just popped out, and it was like, I don't. We're doing a lot here. We are
Yeah.
doing a lot in this episode.
Yeah. It would have been funny if I don't know, maybe if we got a little bit more of Jay's relationship into well, he wanted me to dress up in this glittery police helmet and that was just a little too far for
He had a
me.
fetish. He had a
Yeah.
type.
Yeah.
We broke up because I wasn't married.
Yeah. Yeah.
That we get a little bit of, we only see this character, this young girl Holly, in like the first like 20 minutes of it, and
Mhm.
all I could think of for her is how much therapy is this child going to need.
And the thing is, I couldn't quite figure out what she was doing out that early. Because I mean, she wasn't a police or a male person, and she didn't seem to be associated with the police. But she had some kind of like, sashy thing going on with her outfit and a uniform
Yeah.
thing. And I have no idea what she was. They didn't never explain it. Oh, this is Holly. She was out on her route checking as part of the community watch group
Yeah.
or whatever. Who knows?
Whatever her thing was.
Yeah.
Also, her mom, who is sitting there throughout her whole interrogation scene, holding her hand and being there
Mm.
for her, has no lines and is thus completely uncredited.
Demand a line, people. Demand a line. Get that credit.
Folks, you can go into IMDb. Nobody wants to pay for IMDb Pro. So there is so much about the music in this episode. Eileen, why don't you take us to the history of the big bands in your
All right.
history corner?
The history of big bands is inextricably tied to the history of jazz. Jazz originated in New Orleans in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, drawing from a variety of musical traditions, including blues, spirituals and gospel music, African and Caribbean rhythmic music, military brass bands, vaudeville, and European harmonies. What came out was an ever evolving genre defined by complex chords, call and response vocals, polyrhythms, blue notes, groove, and improvisation. It is a quintessentially American music. In the Storyville section of New Orleans, cornet player Buddy Bolton, who came to be known under the moniker King Bolton, played with his band at the Funky Butt Hall. His syncopated rhythms and hot take on the blues and ragtime influenced many musicians, including Jelly Roll Morton and Louis Armstrong. Armstrong became the leader of the brass band at the Colored Waifs home in New Orleans while he was in detention there, honing his skill with the cornet. And he went on to play with other brass bands and on riverboats before joining Kid Ory's band, where he met his mentor, King Oliver. When Oliver left for Chicago, Armstrong took over his band, where he began to perform extended trumpet solos and to sing. Armstrong soon joined King Oliver and his Creole jazz band in Chicago, and they made their first recordings in 1923. The first jazz record, The Livery Stable Blues, was recorded in 1917 by the original Dixieland Jazz Band. It became a big hit. The band was all white, and the leader, cornet player Nick LaRocca, denied the influence of African Americans on the development of the music and billed itself as the creators of jazz. Jazz moved throughout the country, through the Midwest to Chicago, St. Louis, Kansas City, and then to New York, while energetic and suggestive dances such as the Lindy Hop and Jitterbug joined the popular new dance, the Foxtrot, on dance floors. In San Francisco, Art Hickman led one of the first big bands, showcasing the new rhythms that young people were dancing to with his drumming and piano playing. He expanded his sextet to a small jazz orchestra and performed at the 1915 World's Fair in San Francisco. During World War I, the regimental band of the Harlem Hellfighters, a famous all black regiment under the direction of James Reese Europe, became famous throughout Europe by introducing jazz to European audiences. Jazz has become synonymous with the 1920s as bands led by Duke Ellington at the Cotton Club and Fletcher Henderson at the Roseland Ballroom became popular. African American band leaders started composing some of the most famous and original music that is still listened to today. Paul Whiteman, classically trained, fell in love with jazz while in San Francisco and formed a jazz orchestra to play and record. His recordings, precise and lush, sold millions, far outpacing the sales of black musicians. Whiteman orchestrated jazz with formal written arrangements, a philosophy which brought him a lot of criticism but also a lot of record sales. An Indiana instrument company referred to him as the King of Jazz, though he never referred to himself as such. In 1924, Paul Whiteman and his band performed a work he commissioned from composer George Gershwin, combining elements of classical music with jazz influences, called Rhapsody in Blue. Chicago started to develop its own version of jazz, as white musicians influenced by black musicians played with them after hours, as clubs and dance halls were still segregated. It transformed New Orleans Dixieland jazz into a more sophisticated style with solo choruses and faster tempos. They pioneered a four-beat style that laid the foundation for the swing era. In addition to King Oliver and Louis Armstrong, a young clarinetist named Benny Goodman honed his craft. In New York City, jazz became influenced by the music of Broadway and Tin Pan Alley. By the early 1930s, influenced by this and Chicago style, the big bands began to swing. Count Basie, Bob Crosby, Benny Goodman, Artie Shaw, Tommy Dorsey, Cap Calloway, and Chick Webb are just some of the band leaders who rose to fame with the explosion of swing. Star vocalists such as Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby, Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday, Dick Haymes, Doris Day, and Peggy Lee became legends. Hard jazz bands such as Count Basie and Tommy Dorsey played hard-driving jump tunes, while so-called sweet bands such as Glenn Miller, Les Brown, Fletcher Henderson, and Shep Fields played slower, more sentimental tunes, with less improvisation. Society bands such as Paul Whiteman and Guy Lombardo were more pop than jazz. Show tunes, especially those that came to be known as the Great American Songbook, were popular. Big bands exploded as dance halls, nightclubs, and hotel ballrooms filled with the sounds of swing music. Harlem's Savoy Ballroom was the first racially integrated building in the United States for both dancers and musicians. While black and white musicians jammed with each other after hours in private spaces, in most dance halls of America, they were still segregated. But black culture was reaching larger audiences as black musicians played in whites-only ballrooms and nightclubs, sold records of their music, and had their music played on the radio, the powerful new medium that could reach unprecedented numbers of people. Band leaders like Benny Goodman and Glenn Miller became famous and rich, and Duke Ellington gained a national audience when CBS broadcast his band from the Cotton Club. White teens and young adults propelled the big bands to the forefront of American culture, in much the way their children would do with rock and roll. Record sales, which had cratered at the start of the Great Depression, surged as the big band sound skyrocketed in popularity. Bands constantly toured around the country during the 1930s, even though black musicians could not stay or dine in many of the hotels where they played, no matter which part of the country they were in. They also got paid a lot less, and life on the road was grueling, with most gigs being one-night stands in small markets. During World War II, big bands and their music raised morale, becoming the soundtrack that defined the era. Black and Jewish band leaders, Count Basie, Duke Ellington, Benny Goodman, Artie Shaw, underscored the freedom and the ethnic diversity that made America unique and its culture different. Many big bands toured with the USO, while several band leaders joined the armed forces and formed military bands. Glenn Miller, the most popular band leader at the time, who had formed an Air Force band, went missing on a flight over the English Channel in December of 1944. In Germany, jazz flourished underground as kids listened to the music that Joseph Goebbels called the art of the subhuman. Swing kids got together to listen to swing on Allied radio and to dance. During this time, Dizzy Gillespie, Miles Davis, and Charlie Parker were once again revolutionizing jazz. The sounds they experimented with became bebop. It defied popularity and commercialism just as popular singers were starting to take center stage. Many swing bands stopped touring, and jazz moved into small clubs where the musicians had more freedom to play what they wanted to play. The dance halls began to close. The Cotton Club shuttered in 1940 due to high rents. The original Roseland was torn down in 1956, and the Savoy Ballroom was closed and demolished in 1958. The popular dance music was now rhythm and blues. Big bands did not disappear, however. Duke Ellington and Count Basie still recorded with their bands, and Hollywood released movies based on the lives of Glenn Miller, Benny Goodman, and Gene Krupa in the 1950s. Big bands became a staple of late night television, most notably Doc Severinsen leading the house band on The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson, starting in 1967. In the 1990s, swing had a revival and was showcased in the 1993 drama Swing Kids, the 1994 superhero comedy The Mask, and the 1996 comedy Swingers. It was certainly easier to dance to than the Gregorian chants that were also having a revival at that time. Now, the song that plays during the murders is The Creep, written by Andy Burton, which is the pseudonym of Ken McIntosh, who formed his own big band after World War II. It hit number 10 on the UK singles chart in January of 1954. McIntosh was a fixture on the BBC radio during the 1950s and 60s and twice played at Windsor Castle for the Queen Mother. The version played in the episode was recorded by Ted Heath, another big band leader who was the most prominent trombone player in the UK in the 1930s. He formed the big band Ted Heath and His Music in 1944, inspired by Glenn Miller. Fame, fortune, and a U.S. tour followed, with a lifelong friendship with such musicians as Nat King Cole, Count Basie, Johnny Mathis, and Tony Bennett, among others. He twice gave a Royal Command performance, once for George VI and once for Elizabeth II.
All right.
It's interesting that the song that he played was The Creep, because the guy was really creepy.
It's on the nose if you know what it is. And if
Mhm.
you don't, it's just like, oh, it's like a nice little, but also that scene where like he plays the music and just imagine his mom dancing to it. Like, I don't know. It was it we'll talk about that in the second half a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. But before we get there, before we get to the second half, we got to do the cast highlights. Let's start with Robert Glenister, who played long distance lover John Field. Now, Glenister is the older brother to the actor Philip Glenister, which many people remember from the cult hits Life on Mars and Ashes to Ashes. Now, Robert starred in and is the only actor to appear in every single episode of the show Hustle. He also appeared in Sherwood, Spooks, and The Night Caller. Glenister was involved in a lengthy legal battle with the UK government over his liability for his national insurance contributions. Now, he lost this case in 2019 and had to cover a bill of £147,000. He blamed the stress of having to pay for this as the reason that he blacked out on stage during a West End performance of Glengarry Glen Ross.
I don't think the stress of performing that play would be enough.
You think that's stressed? Wait till you see insurance bills in this country, buddy.
Yeah.
Gillian Kearney was not looking for love, WPC J. Nash. Now, she's appeared in Brookside, Casualty, and Emmerdale. Now, on Emmerdale, she spent 3 years playing the role of Emma Barton, who's considered one of the great Emmerdale villains of all time and was ultimately murdered on the show when she was pushed off a viaduct to her death, as one often is.
Yes.
This led to apparently to a big who done it, who killed Emma Barton storyline.
This the Who Shot JR of the UK.
Sure. Alan Howard played audiophile Owen August. Now, he is the nephew of famous British leading man Leslie Howard and performed with the RSC and the Royal National Theatre for decades. He did a lot more stage than screen, but some of his memorable film roles include playing the titular lover in the Peter Greenaway cult classic The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover, which was, I believe, an early NC 17
Yeah.
film
Yeah.
as well, and he provided the voice of Sauron in the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies. Now, he passed away in 2015. Prue Clark was happy to see the mailman Mary Yateman. She appeared in A Question of Guilt, Casualty, Doctors, and Bridgerton. Uh, Philip Whitchurch played Marlborough Man A. Jessel. He's appeared in The Bill, Sharp, New Tricks, and The Vicar of Dibley. Most recently, he played Harry the Hermit on The Doombusters. Just love all those words. Fleur Bennett was bad at travel routes. Debbie Shortlands, she was in Are You Being Served? Again, Family Affairs, Heartbeat, and Zippin' Hollow. Her cuckolded husband, Keith Shortlands, was played by Adam Blackwood. Now, Blackwood, believe it or not, played James Bond 4 times in video games. He also appeared in A Passage to India, Doctor Who, and Jeeves and Wooster. Del Henney was violent cuckold Mike Eatman. Now, while I was watching the episode, I was like, why does he look so familiar? And I realized it's because he plays the main bad guy in the controversial Sam Peckinpah film Straw Dogs. He's also appeared in Brannigan, Doctor Who, and The Sweeney. Have you ever seen Straw Dogs?
I don't think I have.
It's the one where Dustin Hoffman is moves out, like he's marries a British woman, moves out to this small British community, and he's immediately bullied by the big roughnecks, and at the end just turns into like this violent carnage piece.
I think I actually may have seen that one. Yeah, I think that was one of those things I watched on TV that my parents didn't know I watched on TV.
Yeah, it's one of Peckinpah's most acclaimed films, but it is very violent. It was really controversial in the day. I think in Britain, they wanted to give it the equivalent of the X for the violence.
Yeah.
Kate Maberly played future therapy patient Holly Reed. Now, before this episode, she starred in the 1993 adaptation of The Secret Garden and appeared in Finding Neverland, Gulliver's Travels, and Victoria and Albert. Now, she's transitioned to more behind the scenes work, uh, probably starting around 2015 when she wrote and directed a short film called Charlie's Supersonic Glider. Kim Thompson played happy to be an ex wife Janet Reason. She's appeared in Stealing Heaven, Virtual Murder, The Bill, and Emmerdale. Rupert Walls was sexiest postman in the world, Dave Cutler. Now, so believe it or not, this is his only acting credit. Walls actually worked as the third assistant director on this episode of Midsomer, as well as the Electric Vendetta and Destroying Angel. Not really sure what he is up to nowadays, but this might explain why Dave Cutler had no real lines, as he might not have been able to act.
It seems like they said, "Oh, we need to cast somebody for Dave. Hey, you're not bad looking. You're on."
I don't know if I want to do it. You'll get to feel up a lady. I'm in. Peter Whittier played the canine dog handler we see in the search scene. Whittier is an actual dog trainer who ran Cop and Dog Services, which provided trained animals for film and TV. Apparently, their primary source of business was the TV show The Bill. It does not look like Cop and Dog Services is in business anymore. Maybe they went under after The Bill ended. I am noticing a theme in this episode. It's like, hey, do you want to be in this show?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, well, there goes 90% of our income.
Yep. Rachel Woolrich was the dancing Tammy. Now, she played a dancer in Cinderella and appeared in Kavanaugh GC. Those are all of her credits in IMDb. It looks like she is now a clinical psychologist. Probably could diagnose John Field.
I could diagnose John Field.
Me too. Shout out to Ray Dawn, who played an uncredited police officer in this episode. And also, as I mentioned, the actress who played Holly's mom is uncredited, and we do not have a single idea who she is.
Our return visitors, Neville Phillips had one scene as a priest, which is kind of weird since he's appeared in Faithful Unto Death, Garden of Death, Birds of Prey, Vixen's Run, and The Black Book in much larger roles. Besides being a priest, he's played a vicar twice on this show. He also played the funeral vicar in a little film called 4 Weddings and a Funeral. His IMDb trivia says he frequently plays priests. I guess some people just have that priest look to them. Nicky Henson played the miserable Simon Reason. We saw him in They Seek Him Here. Henson appeared in Witchfinder General, The Green Man, Vera Drake, Syriana, and EastEnders. He was married to fellow Midsomer return visitor Una Stubbs from 1969 to 1974. The marriage ended when Henson was found to be having an affair with the actress Susan Hampshire, who also appeared in Midsomer. So at least he tried to keep it in the family. He passed away in 2019, and I can't help but thinking they missed just the perfect premise for an episode and perfect typecasting with all these people.
Mm-hmm.
Marianne McLaughlin played worried pub owner Barbara Judd. She's also in They Seek Him Here. She studied at the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School and had her on-screen debut in 1982's Gyro City. She appeared in the Ruth Rendell Mysteries, EastEnders, Doctors, and most recently in Trying and Hollyoaks. Morris Perry was big believer in pub loyalty, Ben Barrow. We saw him in King's Crystal, where he played a pub landlord. Typecast much? He was a British character actor who appeared in The Avengers, Z Cars, Doctor Who, and The Sweeney. He passed away in 2021. Now, our village star this week is British acting legend Celia Emery, who played Deadly to Love Louise August. Emery hails from Guildford and studied at the famed Guildford School of Acting. After working as a chorus girl, she got a job at the Royal Shakespeare Company as an assistant stage manager and the understudy for Glenda Jackson in the world tour of Hedda Gabler. She's appeared in Upstairs, Downstairs, the Bridget Jones movies, the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel franchise, Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, and most recently in the Thursday Murder Club. She played a fighter pilot in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and played Patricia Adlin's mom in Better Things with future Oscar winner Mikey Madison. In 2025, Emery appeared in the Celebrity Traders UK and created the TV Moment of the Year. During a challenge when all the competitors were chained together, host Claudia Winkleman's explanation of the game was interrupted when Emery had a loud, nervous fart. Emery admitted it was her instantly, and it became the most talked about moment of the entire series.
That is true. I
Yep.
have if you have not watched the UK Celebrity Traders, which is I think way more entertaining than the American one. It is one of the funniest things I've ever seen, and it is the thing that just everyone just kept talking about. Not only was it just this weird random fart, but Celia Emery was everyone even in the cast is like she is a goddess. She is an acting legend,
Yeah.
right? She is a contemporary of like Mirren and Kingsley and all the great British actors.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just
Judi Dench. Yeah. She's up.
yep.
Yeah.
And she just nervously ripped one.
And she's such a delicate little fragile looking thing, and it's a rather loud fart.
Yes, it's very very funny. We will break here, and we are going to be back in a little bit with the second half of Dark Autumn.
What are you doing here?
Would you like to dance?
And we're back. Let's talk about the second half of Dark Autumn.
He said that he left you, is that right?
No. He'd say anything to save face. I own the house. I threw him out.
Because?
Because he was a liability. He also made a fuss about a certain indiscretion of mine.
Oh, you mean your affair with David Cutler?
It was hardly an affair. I'd seen him strutting his stuff. I'd heard about his reputation, so I decided to give it a go.
The detectives talk to Aide and ask him about his claims Owen is the killer. He says that he ran into Owen on one of his morning walks, and the next day one of his billhooks was missing. Only Owen knew where they were, according to Aide. Owen denies taking it, saying he had no reason to kill Dave. They head to the scene of Reason's murder, where they find a scarf and a tube of lipstick, and Barnaby notices the record that was playing is different from all the others, so the killer brought it with them. Lewis informs them about the call Reason received and says she had affairs with him and Dave. She and Owen sleep separately, and he is aware of her affairs. Owen says he was asleep during Reason's murder and he had no motive. He likes to record her having sex with other men and listening to it later. On Owen's next walk, the killer drives up behind him and gets out of the car and beats Owen to death with his own walking stick. Louise is shocked that all of the men in her life are now dead. Keith says Debbie did a lot of work for people, including someone who wanted her to work on their book on some kind of manual typewriter, and that person even gave Debbie a 50s style dress, but he can't remember who it was, because he's a husband. Why should he pay attention to that kind of information? John tells Barbara that Tammy has broken up with him and found someone else. Troy tries to give Jay a present, but she won't accept it, saying she doesn't want to start a relationship with anyone because her last one hurt her badly. Their conversation is overheard by the killer. Barnaby runs into John, who says he is off to Midsomer Worthy for a jazz concert. He says that he drove Barbara to the shopping center during Owen's murder, and that the tape recorder very prominently in his car is for recording the concert. None of these red flags to Barnaby. None of them. Barnaby talks to Barbara, who tells him about John's breakup. Barnaby notices that a big band cassette is missing from the music pile at the pub, and Barbara tells him that John always called Tammy, never the other way around. She then shows him John's room at the pub, and they discover a manual typewriter and a handwritten book called Dark Autumn. They also find a shrine to his mother, who committed suicide when John was just 8 years old, and photos of Debbie and Jay with the name Tammy written on them. Barbara says that although John dropped her off at the store, he didn't stay, saying he had his own shopping to do. Jay gets a call and agrees to meet someone in the incident room. She heads there but doesn't find anyone. But when she tries to leave, her keys are missing and the door is locked. Music starts to play, the disco ball turns on, and she finds John Field standing in the room. He asks her to dance and then starts to imagine that he is dancing with his mother. Jay turns off the music, which causes John's trance to end, and he pulls out a billhook. Jay tries to run, but he grabs her, so she hits him and then hides. He tracks her to the ladies' room and starts battering the door down, Shining style. She knocks the blade out of his hand, but he still manages to grab her. Luckily, Troy and Barnaby show up in the nick of time, and Troy hits him hard, stopping him. So they interview him and get the full reveal. Dark Autumn isn't really a novel, it's about his mother, who was a beautiful 21-year-old in the early 50s. But by age 40, she had received a disease working as a prostitute that took her looks away. John blamed himself for her suicide, which left him unhinged. He killed Dave because he preyed on women, and Debbie because she rejected his advances. Reason died because he was an adulterer, and also because he sold a desk John wanted to Owen, who was killed because he wouldn't publish Dark Autumn. He wanted Jay next, but when he saw her with Troy, she had to die. He blamed himself for his mother losing her looks and killing herself. And his mom's name? Tammy. Ugh. As the detectives leave, Troy shows Barnaby a book of Lord Byron poetry he wanted to give Jade. He saw a battered collection of his poems in her kitchen with the poem So Will Go No More a Roving marked. That's the same poem that Barnaby saw on the mystery wreath at Dave's funeral. All right. So the strange kill and the killer are both connected because it's all one big weird horror movie, as we said. The big band killer is what I'm calling this guy. What else would you call him?
That is exactly what he'd be called in the newspapers.
Yep. Or Mr. Billhook. Our murderer is John Field. He murders people with that big old billhook while playing the creep. Now he is in this episode. He is clearly another one of the crazy killers who just appears normal all the time until he whoopsie snaps. Which, is a very horror movie trait, right?
Yeah.
Like, dangerously homicidal people tend to have way more warning signs than just, like, turning it on and off like a faucet.
Yeah. But it is, like you said, a very horror movie trope. I just wish he had been a little bit more into it so that he would have been a little more present as far as being a suspect.
I was fine with it. He is the average level of involvement of like half the killers in those kind of movies. It's like, oh, it's the bartender. Oh. Now he is apparently driven insane by the suicide of his mother. What disease did she have that made her ugly?
I don't know. I doing the math, which I'm not great at doing, but
Yeah.
it would have been too early for AIDS, so it was sometime in the 70s.
Yeah, could have been syphilis. Maybe she had one of them, or one of those. Or what was it? What's the big sore? It was one of those things that just was like, well, wait, was she ugly from a disease? Did she just people look different at 40?
Yeah. I mean, she got older, and she, working as a prostitute, she lived hard, and that will take its toll on someone.
She got a disease called aging.
Yeah.
He builds this weird altar to her, and he has an obsession with all this weird 50s stuff. Like, honestly, as soon as Barnaby went into that room, he should have been like, yeah, this is the guy.
Yeah.
Oh, this is straight up the guy.
What I found odd and I thought should have been seeded more throughout was the 50s clues, the 1951 knife, the lipstick and the scarf from the 1950s. because they weren't at the first murder and they weren't at the fourth murder. They were just at the second and the third murders. And if you're going to have somebody who's crazy but has a fixation, that needed to be throughout all of them.
Well, also, why? Why are they there?
Yeah.
Yes, it is a fixation, but like, what is the he's not using them in the murders. Like, what is
Yeah.
the, is it, or has he just got like a big tote bag full of crap, like
Yeah.
50s crap? They're just like, oh man, I lost the knife. It
Yeah.
was right here. Ah, now I lost the dress. Ah, where is my mind?
It would have made more sense if the knife had been left at the first murder, the lipstick and the scarf at the second one, because they would have related to how he was trying to give her this 50s dress and everything. And I don't know, whatever, I mean, desk-like thing he had at the third murder.
It just made no sense. It just
Yeah.
it's like these clues of just like, well, it's someone who's into the 50s. I was like,
Mhm.
but that has nothing to do with the murders. It's like he's not killing them with like 50s, like a 50s anything. It's like he's killing them
Yeah.
with a with basically a machete.
Yeah.
The which is also like he loves the big band music, that classic big band music of the 50s.
Mhm.
Also, why would there be a cassette of big band music at a pub?
I don't know.
Can you imagine like the worst thing you'd want to hear in a pub?
And I assume, and they didn't follow this up, I assumed that he took the big band music at that point because he was going to say, if anybody questioned him where he was for Jay's murder, that he would have said, "Oh, I was at this this jazz concert, and here's the recording I made," even though it was stolen from the pub.
I mean, I thought it would have been a perfect ending right there if Barnaby said, I'm going to a jazz concert. Barnaby goes, jazz concert? Well, now I know you're a criminal. Just arrest you. None of that jazz around here, mister.
Also, there was a distinct lack of this guy should have had blood all over him if he almost decapitated
Yeah.
his. I mean, did Barbara not notice that this guy that was living in her pub that she was kind of had feelings for, yeah, coming in at odd hours and yeah, covered in blood.
The guy has been living there for 3 years and talking to his girlfriend every day on the phone, but she's
Mhm.
never come to visit him once. And
Yeah.
like Midsummer is not far from London.
No.
And she's never once gone, maybe there's something wrong with this guy.
Yeah.
Speaking of the phone calls, so is he like a split personality? What was that?
I don't know. It really didn't make any sense. If it had been like, oh, he has a girlfriend called Tammy that he talks about a lot, and she lives in
Yeah.
London, but she doesn't want to come here, and he's been too busy here in this sleepy little town to go to London.
I mean, again, people that are like literally split personalities or hearing voices or talking conversations with like hallucinations on a phone
Mhm.
generally are not going to be walking around like the rest of the time seeming normal.
Yeah.
And it does feel like they just threw well, what else would a crazy killer do? Oh, he might talk to his dead mom on the phone and call it his girlfriend. Yeah, write that down. Oh,
Yeah.
he might leave all these weird trinkets. Write that down. Oh, he might call all his girlfriends. It was like this weird collection of just like, oh, what would a killer do? Or, like, what would a
Mhm.
crazy like slasher type do? And like, it but you have to make it sense of it in the story,
Mhm.
and not, and it's too much.
Yeah.
It's just literally too much. Like, I get like either he's killing him like with 50s styles, like in using things from the 50s, or he's brutally murdering him with a bill hook,
Yeah.
but you can't do both.
Yeah. It didn't quite mesh the two parts of what was going on in this story, which was the slasher movie stuff, which felt, like it should have been, it should have, if you're doing that, really lean into it. It could have been fun. Or you're doing the 50 stuff, which could have been fun if you leaned into it. They combined them and they didn't really commit to either one fully.
Yeah. And or like other weird, like the thing where he's like in the dance hall and the disco ball, and all of a sudden he's like, what, he's just imagining dancing with his mom,
Mhm.
right? Was he doing that at like all the other crime scenes too, because he's got the music playing?
Yeah.
Also, that dance with his mom when he kind of that was icky.
Oh, that was very Oedipal. Yeah.
Ugh. Incest is an often trope on this show, but even this just made that trope icky. When the music ends, she just twirls off. She's just twirling forever.
No wonder she didn't have any more jobs. She's still twirling.
I mean, I don't think they did a great job of hiding that it was him. Like, it's clearly a man in the first murder.
Mhm.
Clearly a man.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where he makes a really scary face to Barnaby,
Mhm.
right? Did you notice that? Like they're talking in the pub, and he's like, I think he's recounting something about that's it's when he's talking about the pubs in London, and he just
Yeah.
makes a face, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
he's murdered people in London.
Yeah. Yeah, you kinda gotta wonder because this is escalation. This is not first time.
Yeah, yeah. And he has, and his like, it's just of all the motives, killing Reason because he sold a desk is
Yeah.
so beautifully petty. I just wanted him all the motives to be that petty. Why did you kill Dave Cutler? Well, I asked him to stop putting the mail on the floor of my place and just putting him in a little basket, and he wouldn't do it. And I killed Debbie because I asked her to do my taxes, and she didn't give me my full refund.
I think the reasons were all pretty petty, to be honest. I mean, that's why I think this was escalation for one thing. It's that your first murder has a point, and then you start getting more and more tenuous with your reasonings. And if they had leaned into that, like, if they had actually done some research and some police work into like these guys, other than
Yeah,
the one fight that they had, or poor Abe and his one weird uh charge of poaching, that was it,
no.
that was the police work.
I killed Owen because he didn't like my book, and he said it was grammatically incorrect. And I told him I just did what Clippy told me to do, so he had to die.
It would have,
Uh,
yeah, if they had leaned into the whole horror serial killer, I think it would have been more fun.
Yeah. He also, like, very clearly, Barbara is very clearly smitten with John.
Mhm.
Again, not quite sure why.
Yeah.
Um, and he's just oblivious to this. Like,
Yeah.
he's making up a fake girlfriend, like, but it's also like he wants someone younger or blonder or whatever. And,
Mhm.
Barbara's age appropriate.
Yeah.
Don't want that.
Yeah. He didn't seem to like he didn't seem to want to go for the women with the shorter hair.
Yeah.
It was Jay and Debbie had longer hair. So that didn't
They're also younger
suit his,
looking.
yeah.
Like Debbie is physically similar to his mother.
Mhm.
Jay is younger. Like,
Yeah.
there is that certain, I'm not going to go full, like, he's, he's fixated on,
Mhm.
like, youthful feminine beauty like most men, right?
Mhm.
But it's definitely, it's a that's his, he, again, Barbara is very clearly someone who is attractive and
Mhm.
nice and who
Yeah.
likes him, very clearly likes him. But
Mhm.
it's like, because it's not like whatever his fixation is.
Yeah. And I think they should have, like, really lent into the fixation on things. I think if they had, I don't know, I just feel like there was a missed opportunity here to really kinda go into it.
Well,
Yeah.
that's why the killings are also weirdly awkward.
Yeah.
Is right. It's not like a serial killer who is attracted to, like, who's killing a type, right?
Yeah.
These are all kind of murders of opportunity, which aren't quite
Mm.
and and so this kind of weird thing of making him a serial killer, and he is more like a Giallo or a Jason or a Freddy type, where it's like, I kill
Mhm.
you because, almost because you're there,
Yeah.
not because it's like, a serial killer gets some kind of sexual gratification from it usually,
Mhm.
or some kind of psychological gratification. He is more of like I kill you because you're there, which means
Mhm.
he pretty much would have killed anybody.
Yeah. And the switching of the methods of killing seemed weird too.
Yeah.
Because he has the first two, which are done very precisely with the bell hook, with the, attacking them and almost severing their heads. But the third guy, oh, here, there's a nice desk up there, and
Yeah.
he didn't sell me a desk. So if there was a
It's
fixation,
death by irony.
yeah, yeah.
And then Owen is just like he beats him to death with his walk. Like Owen is like just pure rage.
Yeah.
And Owen also got in. Oh, it's you.
Yeah. In a very snide way. Yeah.
Yes. Field's almost last victim was PC Nash.
Mm-hmm.
And as we said, it's strongly hinted at that she had a relationship with Dave
Mm-hmm.
that ended badly. And again, this was kind of that like would have really loved to know what she means when it ended badly, or why did she love him, or what was
Mm-hmm.
going on, because we don't know anything about this guy other than again the sex was good.
Mm-hmm.
She's so emotional. Like I just don't ever want to be hurt again, like I was by that mailman. Well,
Yeah.
maybe that's why she doesn't want Troy. She doesn't like a guy in uniform anymore.
Yeah. And again, this is where having Dave as more of a cipher who's great at sex rather than a fully developed character is a detriment to the episode.
What's really annoying is that she actually like she seems lonely,
Mm-hmm.
and she also seems like a really cute couple with Troy. Like they actually
Mm-hmm.
like the scenes that together they actually make kind of a nice couple.
Mm-hmm.
And so she just doesn't want it.
Yeah.
Even that dance, the scene where they're dancing in the thing, and then
Yeah.
Troy goes in for the kiss, and she's like, "Nope,
Yeah.
denied." And I didn't even really want it for Troy. I kind of wanted it for her. I really did like that character, and
Yeah.
I wish she kind of stuck around.
Yeah. And this is one of the episodes where Troy is actually not horrible as a human being.
Yes, this is the later period where they basically had to. They were like, we need to soften the edges a little.
Well, it's still series 5, so or series 4, yeah. So
Yeah,
he's still in the yeah. I mean, they don't suffer him too much through many. It's just there's no.
but they didn't make it so. They didn't
Mhm,
make him. They basically the first series.
yeah,
He is aggressively a jerk. He's
yeah,
aggressively homophobic. He's aggressively not listening to
hmm,
Barnaby, which is how the character is sort of written in the books
yeah,
as well. Is that that's the relationship like
hmm,
um and nobody's going to want to watch this guy for series after series if he stays like that.
yeah, yeah,
Let's talk a little bit about the Augusts and the loveless marriage between Louise and Owen. Um, he is a cuckold,
hmm,
and he is into it. He is she sleeps with other men, Dave, Simon, and he records it and listens to it and enjoys it.
yeah. He seems to get off on it, and I just have to say, I don't think you've said cuckold in any episode as much as you have in this
You know?
one.
Yeah, I mean, have we had anyone cuckolded as much? Like he likes it though. That's the thing. That's his
Yeah,
fetish. Like
yeah,
it's not. It's funny. Is like once you can't even criticize him for it because it's he wants it and it's
yeah,
completely mutual with his wife. Like, okay,
yeah.
that's what he's into.
But it seems like every man in town is a cuckold, and they don't really say, "Well, we need to see which of these guys might have wanted to kill this guy who was sleeping with
Yeah.
all their wives." Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
like
one was angry
every
about.
man, every husband in town.
Well, it's like well, they were like the three bears, right?
Yeah, yeah.
One one really loved it. One really hated it. One was it's all right. By the way, give Celia Emery an award for her orgasm. It was amazing.
Give Celia Emery an awards anyway because her facial expressions in this, especially when Owen is trying to justify his life in any way, they're
Oh
just
yeah,
great. Yeah.
her reactions to any of his foolishness are priceless. Owen is just a terrific. It's interesting is the Owen really starts off as like this terrifically snobby
Hmm.
person with his OBE and all that stuff and his arrogance, and they quickly knock that out of him.
Yeah.
They didn't quite say it out loud, but I guess she was the one who gave David the handkerchief.
Yeah.
Gave Cutler the yeah.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
never it didn't actually say, "Oh, I gave him the handkerchief," or "Oh, you gave him the handkerchief." It just
Yeah.
kind of hinted at.
Yeah. Well, in the scene where she's talking about it with Barnaby, he does flash back to seeing the handkerchief
Yeah.
with David written on it when he because he sees that she does the needlework.
My other favorite scene with Owen and Louise was where he starts to wonder aloud if they should have had kids.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I guess I was a father to all the young authors. Just, and both I made the same kind of face that Emery did, which is like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
that is not how that works.
Again, her facial expressions, but her line readings, the way she just doesn't overplay them. They're just precise surgical digs at him. Yeah.
Yeah. And you really have to give it up to Alan Howard as well, because he is
Mm-hmm.
the way he does that character is wonderfully pompous.
Mm-hmm. Pompous that's not justified. Yeah. He did merit it.
Yeah. I can see why she was bored.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and she does get that kind of beautiful, like, all the men in her life are dead. Everyone she
Mhm.
loves has died.
Mhm. Yeah.
She is kind of she's the banshee
Yeah.
with that orgasm. She's the banshee. I did think it was funny that the police set the incident room in the dance hall when they were
Mhm.
literally at the August's house every 5 minutes in this
Yeah.
episode. Like, just set it up there. Like, why are you going back and forth? You're there every. Oh, excuse us. One more thing.
Well, they had to give me some reason to have the Kings's um come dancing go through my head with all the
Yeah.
mentions of dance all days.
I also kind of love that scene where Owen is watching Barnaby leave through the window, and he's just got this weird smile on it. I'm like, do you think Barnaby's going to sleep with his wife? I can't wait to get that man on a recording. Simon Reason, what a great sad sack.
Mm-hmm.
What that scene alone of him eating in his warehouse.
Yeah.
He just might have had like the sad trombone playing in the background.
Yeah.
Wah, wah.
And the visual and props to the set decorator where you're seeing in the background that couch with all the bed linens on it and blankets and
Yeah.
everything and the pillow, and it's like somebody's sleeping here before they even mention it. Somebody's sleeping in there, and then when he opens the filing cabinet and starts pulling out his clothes, it's like
Yeah.
this guy's using a filing cabinet as a closet / chest of drawers. It's great.
You don't actually have a chest of drawers in here?
Yeah, I know.
Well, it was nice to see him like have that little moment with Louise, and then she immediately was like, I think I'm done.
Yeah.
You were just a rebound. And he tries to, no, we can still stay friends and maybe have sex. Come on, I need this. Life's not going well.
Yeah. Life's not really going well.
And then there is a motif in this episode that Reason does it with Louise and Field does it with Barbara, where
Yeah.
they touch the women on the face
Yeah.
in a way that made me think, have they ever actually touched a woman on the face before?
Yeah.
Like, Fields is very awkward, and I believe Reason takes his fist and just kind of not even like fake, like knock on the chin. Here's looking at you, kid, or something like that.
Yeah.
He just puts it to her cheek.
Yeah.
What is going on in this village?
Yeah. Dudes, if you want to know about face touching, watch the way Barbara Streisand touches Robert Redford in The Way We Were when she moves his hair ever so slightly off his face. That is how you touch a face.
No, what you do is you reach up awkwardly and think to yourself, I don't know what to do with my hand. I will just kind of rub it across someone's face.
Yeah, the knuckles are not the really good part to touch. It's the fingertips, the sensitive parts of your hands.
Now, believe it or not, this is our second Aunt Sally episode in a row, and I swear to God, we did not plan this.
It's all by random number generator.
We use a random number generator to pick our episodes. It is really crazy that we got the two Aunt. I believe these are the only two Aunt Sally episodes back to back.
Yeah.
And this one actually was way better than the previous one, the one in Wolf Hollow, because this actually felt it like a real competition.
Yeah.
It had a board.
Yeah.
It had a scoreboard and everything.
And they were actually calling people to take turns. Yeah.
Yes. you could actually get a clear idea of how this game might work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and if you didn't understand what Aunt Sally was, there is a scene where Troy explains the game to Barnaby, who would obviously know what this is as he is much older and gone to way more pubs than Troy.
Yeah.
So it's clearly a scene meant for the audience.
A little exposition for the Americans who will be watching this episode.
So- And why is Troy so excited about Aunt Sally, anyways?
He's terrible at it.
I think he just loves to throw things.
Yeah.
And he volunteers them to play, which seems massively inappropriate in a murder investigation.
Yeah.
And by the way, when you actually see the competition, the wolf hunter thing made this seem way more hard.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to be able to knock it off at least once.
Hmm.
Where and it's a culmination of how many times you knock it off. Whereas the
Yeah.
wolf hunter one made it seem like, no, first person who knocks it off wins.
Yeah. Yeah. They got 6 tries.
Which means this game could go on for hours. This game could
Yeah.
go on for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
We did spend a decent chunk of the time at this episode at the competition,
Hmm.
which I thought was there was a point where I was like, this is going on too long.
Hmm.
Like, it's fun to watch everybody play. And like,
Yeah.
it was really funny to see Barnaby make the perfect score, which I
Yeah.
was like, come on. We don't need to feed Nettles ego that much.
He is the star.
Yeah. But at some point I was just like, this is really long and it's
Mhm.
not important. This is not essential to this episode.
Yeah.
It's fun, but we
Mhm.
could cut 5 minutes out of this episode. And this is back when episodes were really long.
Yeah, because this was a quite a long episode, yeah.
There is an underlying current of this is the competition. Aunt Sally is the rivalry between the two pubs,
Mhm.
which I felt was teased and then was not really developed,
Yeah.
right? Like, what is
Mhm.
there a rivalry or not? And what
Mhm.
was that weird tension in the old man pub, right?
Yeah.
Like did somebody betray the pub? What's like it was they do enough in that scene to make you think it's relevant to something,
Yeah.
and it's never brought up again.
Yeah. And it's weird because that was the pub. The old man pub is where Dave went, and you would think that Dave would have gone to the other pub where unless he wanted to avoid all the husbands. Who knows?
I mean, it's weird in the sense of like there's a version of this episode that could be written where the murders are just all about Aunt Sally.
Mhm.
I killed Dave because he's too good. And Debbie has a trick shot.
Simon really let us down on that last Aunt Sally game.
Oh, Simon
Yeah.
had to die for that score.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just felt like I loved the Aunt Sally thing in this way more than the Wolf Hunter. It was actually more interesting to watch. It was too much of the episode.
Mhm.
And if they had maybe cut that, we might have been able to get some more Bullard in this episode. Because weird corner, Bullard's not in the first hour of this episode, even though
Yeah.
there's multiple homicides.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, Reason is killed after the hour mark, right? And
Uh-huh.
and that's the first time Bullard shows up.
Yeah. I know. Initially I thought, oh, this must be when the actor who played Bullard was not available and they had to
Same.
recast him, and then all of a sudden he shows up and it's like, okay, why wasn't he at any of the first 2 murders?
It was crazy weird, and he doesn't really do anything in the doesn't really
Yeah.
do anything the other ones. It's not.
Yeah.
It felt like someone was writing this in like, what am I forgetting? Bullard. But do I want to rewrite any of this? Nah. Jumping into the detective work, Barnaby seems to have a real obsession for big band music in this one,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Pulls out that big box of the big band records, and I guess he listened to those because he says he was a big fan of as a kid, and I guess he listened to those before he found the true blues path.
Yeah, definitely. By the way, if you haven't listened to our episode on The Axeman Cometh, go back and listen to that
Yes,
because that is the true blues path.
that sets up Barnaby as like basically as a '60s hippie
Yeah.
who was really into like blues and rock.
Yeah.
But this one was like, no, he was clearly into big band music. I'm like, I don't think he would have been. He is in the age group that he would have been into the rock.
Yeah.
So it felt a little weird.
Yeah. Unless he was saying, "Oh, these are my parents." Yeah.
That would have made sense. He doesn't. He says they're his.
Yeah, because I mean, I listened to some of this when I was younger because it was mom and dad's, you know.
Yeah. I did like that little scene where he's doing a little dancing in his office and then he's caught by Troy
Yeah.
and Nash. And to get his and he's so mad about that later on he calls Troy Twinkle Toes.
Yeah.
People in glass houses, John Barnaby.
Yeah.
I liked that scene where he's just looking for big band cassettes in the record store,
Mhm.
and he's checking a section where very clearly Nirvana's In Utero is visible.
Probably not going to be in the same section of that store.
Would you have any big band in grunge?
Well, there was that whole grunge big band period.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Um,
90s not only had grunge, they did have the big band revival as well as the Gregorian chant revival. So, you know, the 90s were weird.
God bless him. So as he's leaving that record shop, he's talking to Joyce and he's wondering aloud if a murderer would use music to set a scene like an actor, which makes it seem like he has not seen a single cop show or movie in the last 30 years.
Yeah. And it's weird because if he associates this music with his mother, I would think that he would want to protect that image of her from the murders and separate them. I mean, if we're going to talk about kind of a split personality or duality or whatever in this guy, that would have been the 50s stuff should have been separated from the murders.
Did you notice how many I kind of loved it when they're opening up the incident room and everyone's kind of loading stuff in and I'm just like they're just carrying boxes after boxes after boxes. And I
Yeah.
was like, they've gotten a lot of files in 24 hours.
Yeah. Here's files on everyone in town. Every cuckold and husband in the UK. Dave got around. Let's just say the
Yes.
postman delivered.
Why do you think it took them 2 days to look at Dave's flat?
That is first 24 hours.
Right?
Or if not first 12 hours, you know.
Every other episode, like I've seen them with like where they have the murder, they go into their place right away. I
Mhm.
just like, yeah, we'll get around to Dave. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go in and I'm assuming what they would assume is like a bachelor pad that's like just gross, like condom wrappers just littered everywhere.
It was very tidy and no porn.
But then Barbara lets them into John's room pretty quickly, and I'm like, is that legal?
I guess since she's technically the landlord, I'm assuming that she's renting.
I don't
this
know.
room.
I think you would have right to privacy.
I would think so. I don't know the UK laws on that, but I would think that there would be
Yeah.
some sort of, even the landlord would have to have a warrant.
Yeah, that's what but
Yeah.
you know, Barnaby's very good at ignoring those.
Warrant? What's that? Illegal search and seizure. Never bothered me before.
Hey, let's go up there and see if we can find that tape. I really want to hear some big band.
Yeah.
There's a scene at the pub where Troy wins a leg of lamb at the weekly meat draw.
Yeah.
And that whole scene, by the way, the only reason that scene exists in the episode is it's the scene where someone explains to them that John has a girlfriend.
Yeah.
That's it. There is no other purpose that scene exists in this
Yeah.
entire thing.
It's not like he shares that leg of lamb with Jay.
Yeah.
You see them eating the fish
Mhm.
and chips from the truck.
Mm-hmm. Troy can't cook.
Yeah.
I did say like that scene where Troy is fighting John Field.
Mm-hmm.
That's and Troy just like wails on him,
Yeah.
just, and it's like wow.
Yeah.
Like I realized it's just like you never really see Troy be that kind of level of physical,
Yeah.
right? But that was good.
Yeah.
So as an American, I didn't know what the Festival of Britain was. I looked it up, and roughly it was a celebration in the year of 1951 of all things British culture and design. Apparently, to help morale, people were still at low morale post World War II.
Yeah.
And you can find a lot of souvenir Festival of Britain knives online.
Yeah.
There was like a lot of souvenirs made. They did have souvenir knives. Whether or not the knife that they show on screen, I could not find that.
Mm-hmm.
But there is way too there was so much to sift through. I was like, it would literally be like a knife in a haystack.
How many tea towels were there?
A lot. There's a lot.
Hundreds. Thousands.
It was, yeah. It seemed to be not only was it was a festival to boost the morale of British factories.
Yeah. And it probably did, because if you're doing something like this and you're saying we're going to have local manufacturers make these tea towels, make these porcelain tea sets, make these knives, whatever,
Yeah.
make whatever they do, um,
Yeah.
it does have a nice boost for the economy
Of course.
if they don't, make it all in China.
So what was your favorite line of dialogue of this entire episode?
Oh gosh. I do kind of like the what did you want us to do yodel from Celia.
Yodel.
Yeah. From Celia. The way the line is great. The way she said is perfect.
Mine is when Barnaby just kind of loses it and just goes, "Why does everyone in this village seem to be at it?" It's like you're in the middle of nowhere. What else is there to do?
Yeah. I mean,
You have 2 pubs.
2 pubs and the fish and chip truck only comes once a week. What else is there to do?
There is a reason why in major blackouts, there's a certain amount of babies born 9 months later.
Yeah.
It's because once the power's out, there's nothing else to do.
Yeah. Speaking of which, there was an utter lack of children in this village where everybody's bonking each other. Or one guy. Dave should have had a lot of little Daves running around.
Maybe Dave got the snip. Maybe Dave's little Daves weren't fast enough swimmers. Finally, let's jump in the home life. Joyce is sort of there.
Yeah.
She gets to go to the Aunt Sally, which is another date night at a murder site.
Yeah.
She must have loved that.
Yeah.
And then, Joyce is there with Tom constantly as he's looking for music and pulling out the records. And even she asked the question, why is he looking up his old records?
Yeah.
Right? The big band stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very good question to ask because at that time, he does not know what the music that people have heard.
Yeah.
It's at that point, they've only talked to Holly. She could not identify it.
Yeah.
So there's no logical reason for Barnaby to be looking at old big band records at that point in this episode.
That is true.
I found the flaw. I have found the flaw in this episode.
The one flaw. The one single flaw.
The one flaw. Oh, that ruined it. All right, final thoughts.
Like I said, for some reason, and taking nothing from Celia Emery, who's great, and the other actors, I find this an unmemorable episode. It has some bones that could have been fleshed, put some flesh on to make it a better episode. Dave could have been fleshed out, to make him a more interesting character, and so that we understood why all those women were, in such mourning for him, because, being a great lover is one thing, but we have to kind of know what made him great other than, technique, let's say we've discussed that. And they didn't commit to any single thing. And we've discussed this before where they seem to have two different ideas, and they meld them together, and they just don't commit to either one to being the real focus of the episode. Yeah, if this is a horror, a take on the horror movie, they should have really leaned into that more. But horror doesn't quite lend itself to a murder mystery, I guess, except for possibly the giallo, because the whole thing about a horror is the murder comes out of nowhere. There are no clues. A mystery has to have clues, and there are no clues.
That's the problem, is that the constraints of a horror film are different than the constraints of a murder mystery. And, they are clearly following the logic of a horror thing, which is, crazy killer kills people. Does the insanity doesn't make sense? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's because you're not really in the horror movie. It's the who and the how, right? Because it's the how is the scariest way possible, and the who is just like, oh, that's who the killer is, but the why is given, but it doesn't have to make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah,
right. A murder mystery the why has to matter. The motive matters in a murder mystery.
Yeah,
right? And this guy had no motive, or his motives were all over the place. This guy was a serial killer, or he was just crazy. Because they just wanted to use horror movie logic,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's horror movie logic is unfulfilling
Yeah.
because again, the point of horror is to scare you.
Yeah.
The point of a murder mystery is to is to solve the crime.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what
And
really gets down to it
yeah,
is horror is to scare you about things in the big world that it's about lack of control.
yeah,
Mystery is about reestablishing control. And if you don't reestablish control by finding the motive and the motive making
yeah.
sense, it's an unsatisfying mystery.
If they had done this episode as a mini horror movie in an attempt to scare us,
Mm-hmm.
it and it actually was scary, which this episode was not scary.
No.
If they had done this as more of a horror movie homage and did it more as a like just to scare you,
Mm-hmm.
I would probably be happy glossing over the whys
Yeah.
because they were just trying to they were trying to just take the idea of a horror movie and transpose it to a murder mystery, and it just didn't.
Mm-hmm.
It literally, honestly, you know what? This kind of felt like someone wrote a horror movie,
Mm-hmm.
and then they couldn't, nobody wanted to make it, and then just they got a job writing for Midsomer. Like, oh, I can just take this idea and just change some of the names
Yeah. Yeah.
and add a little bit of here and make it more Midsomer.
Yeah. And the 50s thing is undeveloped as a real set of clues. If, like I said, if there had been seeding of the clues from the 1950s from the beginning, and there had been and if John had been like dressing a little bit more, retroly, had that 50s bowling shirt on, he really, if there had been something to give, until we got to the end, and it's like, oh, look at all this stuff about his mom and Tammy and everything, and it just I mean, all you're getting from him is, oh, he's frustrated because he hasn't seen his girlfriend in a long time, and he talks to her on the phone every day, and it ends up she's not real. It just they needed to bring mystery logic to this, and they didn't.
They just needed to make it they needed it to make it a mystery.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a mystery.
Yeah.
They were trying to make this like a Silence of the Lambs type thing, where with the fetishizing with the objects and all that stuff, but it just felt like they were just trying to add, again, we've got a crazy killer, let's add all kinds of weird crazy things.
Yeah.
But it's just and then do we need to make it make sense? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Because this isn't a horror movie.
Yeah. It's the lack of commitment to any particular way that they were going to tell this story that I think is the ultimate failure of it.
All right, well, that's everything we wanted to talk about. If you had anything you wanted to discuss about Dark Autumn or Midsomer Murders, feel free to email us at welcometomidsomer@gmail.com. If you want us to use the email on the show, please say so in your email. You're also welcome to Midsomer on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You can follow us in all these places. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to us or rating and reviewing us on iTunes or Spotify and Do both. Go crazy. That really helps people find us. Tell all your friends about us. Please turn on your automatic downloads. We're going to be back soon with a new episode, and we hope you will join us again. As we take the road out of Midsomer, we want to thank you for listening and remind you that in Midsomer, selling a desk can be murder.
No, it can't be. It really can't be.
In Midsomer, Eileen.
In Midsomer.
It usually is.
Okay, it usually is, yeah.
Welcome to Midsomer is produced by Eric Buscher and Eileen Becker. All clips in this podcast are used in compliance with the U.S. Copyrights Act fair use exception for criticism and commentary. Our logo and podcast art was designed by Smeedrai. Our theme music is by the infamous Space.